Hi everyone, this is Adam Virgil, and in this video we're going to make a dynamic leaderboard. It's actually going to take two videos. The first video we're going to set everything up and it'll be totally functional, and in the second video we'll make it look pretty, like a cool leaderboard. What we have here is we have our data. We have athlete names, the date, and their value for the metric in question. So LaQuan James on 10/15/2019 had a jump height of 29.5, probably inches, and a 10-meter sprint time of 1.25 seconds, probably, and deadlift 1 RM as 440, probably pounds. If it was kilos, he'd be hell of a strong. And what we want to do is we want to display the leaders in each of these categories. Now I'm going to scroll down and we have data, like this is data over time, and I do recommend collecting data over time and not replacing values in a leaderboard if you're not storing this information. So this way we'll be able to just take our information that we have here regardless of the date and display a leaderboard. I'm going to go to the leaderboard tab. To create a new tab, you click on this plus button right here and it'll create a new sheet. That's all I've done, and I labeled it leaderboard. One thing that I'm going to focus on moving forward is taking data from one sheet and putting it into another, because I typically keep the data on the same sheet as the visualization and the tutorial so that everyone can see what's going on. But it's important to understand that the data that you collect should reside in a separate environment than from where your visualizations occur and from where your data aggregations occur that aren't directly related to that data set. So we're going to start right here and create a leaderboard. And what we need to decide is what data we want to show. So for me, I might want the rank of the person, maybe it's 1 through 10, the rank, their name, say athlete name, and a date, because we have data over time. Maybe I want to know when that performance was, and then the value. So, and we want this sorted from largest to smallest, or potentially from smallest to largest, because we have 10-meter sprint times, and we might, if we want to see the top 10 sprinters, we actually want to see the lowest 10 numbers. Now let's go back to our data tab for a second and see the metrics that we have. We have jump height, 10-meter sprint time, and deadlift 1 RM. I'm going to copy these three headers so that I remember the metrics, and I'm just going to paste them somewhere in here. And we'll make this leaderboard, this is one leaderboard, we'll make it for jump height. So I'm just going to put jump height over here so I know that. Then maybe 10-meter sprint time is the next one, and deadlift 1 RM is the next one. And really, all of this happens in one formula, pretty much. We're going to use the sort n function alongside a filter function, and that's all you need to create a leaderboard. So let's start with sort n. And sort n means, let's type it in equals, here, let's do it here. To start a formula in Google Sheets, you do equal sign, now sort, and Google Sheets will help me, equals sort n. The first thing that we need is a range, and then this n after it tells us how many we want to display in the range. Then we say whether we want to display ties or not, and then we tell Google Sheets which column we want to sort by, and then we tell it whether it's ascending or not. And we could go on and have multiple iterations of this. But for us, well, what do we want here? We want the athlete name, the date, and the value. So let's go to our data tab, and let's select the name, the date, and the value for jump height. And this is an easy one because all the columns are together. But what if we wanted the name, the date, and the 10-meter sprint time? Well, it gets a little bit more complicated, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. So the first thing is the range. We're going to sort those three things, comma. Now how many do we want? Well, let's say we want the top 10, comma. Now display ties mode. This is either true or false. Do we want to display ties or do we not? And what that means is when we get to the number 10 in our leaderboard, do we want to display 11 and 12 if they're tied with number 10? That's a decision that you can make. I'm going to say false for now. which means no, I just want the top 10 even if there are ties, comma. Now sort column. Well, we have 3 columns. We have the name, the date, and our metric. We want to sort it by the 3rd column, which is our metric. So column number 3. And now is ascending. So do we want to go from bottom to top or top to bottom? Well, we want to go from top to bottom, and ascending is bottom to top, so we want this to be false. And we can close the parenthesis and click enter. And there we have it. We have a list of our athletes, the top 10, from top to bottom. Now that's a really great start. But now, what if we wanted to do 10-meter sprint time? Remember, the columns are not adjacent to one another. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to use, I call them curly brackets, to denote different columns that are not side by side. To do that, let's remove this data A to C and do a open curly bracket. And then we pick the columns that we want and separate them with a comma. So I want column A, comma, then column B, and then just for kicks, I'm going to do comma, column D, even though we're doing jump height, and close the curly bracket, and click enter. And now we have the top 10 or the bottom 10 sprint times. And if we change this back, instead of D, which is where the sprint times are, to C, which is where the jump heights are, and click enter, now we're back to where we started with the top 10 jump heights. And what we may notice here is that there are the headers are here. And there are a bunch of ways to get rid of them. I like to use the filter function because generally there are other pieces of criteria that I want to filter out. But in this case, because we want to make this kind of a quick video and get you everything that you need, we'll go A2 to A, B2 to B, and C2 to C. And what we're saying is we're just changing the range of what we want to bring back, which does not include A1 or B1 or C1, which is where the headers are. And if we click enter, the headers are gone and we can use our own. Great. So now we have a leaderboard. And it's bare bones, it's here. Now we want to make this a little bit more dynamic though. Let's look at this function that we have. We said that display ties mode is false. That's fine. We might not ever want to control that. We also say that is ascending is false. In other words, we want it to go from highest number to lowest number. But what about 10-meter sprint time? And what if you wanted to see the worst jumpers, if you will? Well, we might want this to be true at times. So one thing that we can do is we can create a checkbox. And I'm going to put that right here. And to do that, we're going to go to Insert, Checkbox. A checkbox, if you notice when I added it, it says false. And if we check it, it says true. It's essentially a true or false field. So what we can do now is if we go back into our formula, we can say instead of false or is ascending is false, we can say is ascending is equal to whatever the checkbox says it is, and click enter. And the checkbox is unchecked, so it's false, but we could easily check it and see the bottom ranked jumpers. And we can uncheck it again. The second part of this is right now we said that we want to see the top 10. Well, what if we wanted to see the top 15 or just the top 5 at times? The way that we can do this is instead of this being equal to 10 or n being equal to 10, we could have n be equal to, let's say, whatever is in this cell right here. And click enter. And we have an error for now. That's because nothing is in this cell. But if we type in the number 10, or 15, or 5, now we have a leaderboard that shows just however many we want it to show, at whatever time it is. Now, the last function or the last formula that we need to do is this rank function. And there are a couple of different ways to do this. It depends on how you want to rank things. But probably there's an easiest way and there's a semi-easy way. We'll do the semi-easy way because I think it gives you the most bang for your buck for what we're trying to do here. And because it's a sneaky way that I get to integrate the filter function, which you should know how to use because it's awesome. So to get a ranking here, we could easily just type in the numbers. We could easily, the easiest way by far is just typing in numbers all the way up to 10, but then you have numbers when you only have 5 people, or you don't have enough if you have 15 people, or however it works. The other way you could do it is to use an if function. This is kind of the next step here. So we can always have the number 1 here, assuming that we're always going to have one person. Or actually, why don't we do it this way? So equals if. So if this cell, or the athlete's name in this row, equals quote quote, which is blank. So if this name is blank, comma, then let's make this cell, or the rank cell, blank, quote quote, comma. But if that's not true, let's put in the number 1 and close the parenthesis and click enter. Now we only do that for the first one. For the second one, we can just copy this formula and paste it down. But instead of it being equal to 1 if this cell or the name cell is not blank, we want it to be equal to the number above it, plus 1, and click enter. Then we can copy this formula, and I'm just going to paste it all the way down to the bottom of my sheet, and we'll kind of go back up. And now it just shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we reverse the sort, though, it also shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even though these are the bottom 5. So this might be serviceable for you, and that's great. That's fine. The next way to do it is to use the filter function, like I said before, which is awesome. So we're going to use it. And the only difference here is if we flip the sort, we'll see the actual ranks of these people instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's a function rank that we can use. So right now, we have the number 1 here, but we could say rank, open parenthesis. So if the name cell is blank, then make it blank. If not, we want to do a rank. The first thing we need to rank is the value. So we want to rank this value, the value that this person has, comma. Now, compared with what? Well, we don't want to do all of these, because if we reverse the sort, that won't change anything. We need to go to our jump height column and select all the data there. So let's go to our data and select column C, because that's where the jump height is, and close that off and click enter. And now we can copy this formula and paste it down. And let's scroll up if I can just get to the top here. Now we still have the ranking. And when we reverse it, we have their ranking, their actual ranking, even though they're at the bottom. Now this is not going to work for the 10-meter sprint times, but I'll show you why in a minute. So this is great. We have all of our rankings, we have everything done. Awesome. Maybe we'll bring the jump height across here, and we'll say this is the top 5, and maybe reverse sort. We'll call this reverse sort. Okay, now let's do it for the 10-meter sprint time. So we've 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's make that 4 wide. And let's go over here and let's make that 1, 2, 3, 4 wide. And I'm just going to cut the gaps between these by resizing the columns to 20 or so that we can see everything on the same page. More or less we can. Now, we want to do a couple things before we copy and paste this. The first is that we want to lock in all these cells, or most of them right here. So put a $sign before the A, the $sign before the 2, $sign before the A, $sign before the B and the 2, $sign before the B, $sign before the C and the 2 and the next C. And then we can leave these as is. We don't need to worry about these. And click enter. And now let's go to our rank formula. This is fine, and this is fine. But what isn't fine is this. So let's lock in column C. And click enter. And now we should be able to copy and paste everything pretty much. So let's copy all this. And let's paste it right here. Great. And we don't expect these rank cells to work because we only adjusted this number. Now the only things that we have to change are, for the rank formula, the column that we're ranking in. So let's go to our data tab. For the 10-meter sprint time, we're going to look in column D. So we're comparing whatever this value is, which will be a sprint time, to something in column D. So we'll say D to D for the rank formula and click enter. And now, in this formula, again, instead of looking at column C where the jump heights are, for our third column, we have the athlete name, the date, and the value is jump height. Let's change it to column D, which is where our sprint times are. And that's why I wanted to do these curly brackets at the beginning so that we can copy and paste and we don't have to screw around with things. Click enter. And there we go. There are the sprint times. And if we reverse sort, it should work. But notice one thing with the ranking system. There's an issue. And that issue is that the rankings are reversed. Now there's something in the rank formula that lets you determine whether or not higher is better or lower is better. In that formula, at the end of it, you'll see this is ascending. And just like our sort formula, we decide whether or not is ascending should be better or worse. So we do comma. Now, is this value ascending? Or is an ascending value a lower ranked value? In our case, that is true. So an ascending value is a lower ranked value, and we will make this true. And click enter. Now we have the rank number 1, which is what it should be. And if we reverse the sort, we get rank number 48, which is probably what it should be. Great. Now, what we can do is we can copy all this again for the jump height one. The reason why I'm copying the jump height one and not the 10-meter sprint time one, which I should later label, is because then we don't have to do that ranking adjustment again. So let's copy all this and let's paste it right here. Since deadlift 1RM, higher is better. So we'll go deadlift 1RM. And the only things that we have to do again are say, instead of column C where the jump height is, we want column E where the deadlift 1RMs are. So we'll make this, well, for this ranking formula, we'll make it E to E. And then for our sort formula, we'll again, instead of C2 to C, we'll make it E2 to E. And click enter. And we should be able to check whether this works by reversing the sort. And it looks like it does. Now that this all looks good, we can copy the ranking formulas and paste them down. So we can copy that, paste it all the way to the bottom of our sheet. And we'll copy this one and paste it to the bottom of our sheet. What I'm doing here let me go back. I'll do it for the third one. And we'll copy this formula. And what I'm doing is I'm holding down Control and Shift and down arrow, and Control and Shift and down arrow again to get to the bottom of the sheet. Then I'm holding down Control and V to paste, which for a Mac it might be Command V, and then I'm holding down Control and just clicking the up arrow without the shift to bring me back to the top. If you see me flying around, that's kind of what I'm doing with the hotkeys on my keyboard. Okay, great. Now we have interactive leaderboards where for each one of these we can change, see the top 10, top 15, we can reverse sort, and do some cool things. Actually, you know what, I'm just going to keep on going through here, and we're going to make this pretty right now because it's, it'll just take a couple minutes. So if you've seen any of my recent videos, you know that I like to get colors from NBA and NFL teams and apply them, and sometimes I'll throw in a logo if I feel like it, even though I'm not sure if that's okay or not. But anyways, I'm gonna make a header here. So let's highlight all these cells and merge and center, and we'll call this Team Athletic Performance Leaderboard with an S. And we'll make it bold and bring it into the center and vertically align it. And we'll make this row, resize row to say 35 or so, the font size to 14. And with an entire dashboard, what I want to do is I'm going to click on this cell right here above 1 and to the left of A to select everything. And I'm going to change the font to be this Varela round. For whatever reason, I've been liking this font lately. So now everything is in this font. And in row 2 and row 4, I'm going to resize these rows to be 10 because I like creating a little bit of space in between things. And for this row 3 and this row 7, I'm going to make them, I don't know, 30 or so to give them some space. And with both of these rows, what we can also do is we can center align and vertically align everything. Now, the next thing is we are going to start coloring things. So I'm going to make this a purple with a white font. Maybe you can guess the team that I'm choosing here. And with these three, I think I'm going to go black. Black with each of these. And select them all and make the font white. Maybe I'll make these a little bit bigger font. I'll make them 12. And across here, in this row, row 5, again, I'm going to center align and vertically align. And maybe I'll make each of these some sort of like a very light gray, just so that they stand, just so that it adds some segregation. Use a little bit of a light gray. And we'll bold the number 15 and 10 and 5. And I want each of these boxes to be black so that they're consistent. And each of these numbers I want to be red. So I'll make them this color red that I got. And now again here, I'm going to select everything and bold it. Maybe I'll make the font a little bit bigger. No, actually not. One thing that I want to do here is instead of this saying value, we're going to make these cells equal to whatever's up here. So we'll go equals whatever that says and click enter. And same thing here, we'll go equals and whatever that says and click enter. And on this one, again, we'll go equals and deadlift 1RM, click enter. Now, one thing that I want to do is I'm going to highlight all these cells and go to Format, Text Wrapping, and Wrap. And now I can tell that this row isn't big enough for the 10-meter sprint time. So, yeah, the row is not big enough. So we'll go to, let's say, 35, see if that's big enough. Barely. Maybe I'll do like 40. And then just to make it, I'm going to make this one 42 because I don't like when anything in here is bigger than my header. Make the font maybe a little bit bigger. And maybe I'll reduce the size of this one to 25 or so. Okay, great. We're starting to make progress. Now, highlight these 3 cells for the rank, athlete name, and date. And we'll make them a dark-ish gray, but still so that we can see it. Now I'll copy what we did here and just paste it and paste it. Now that I think about it, I'm going to select everything. We'll have to redo the dates and the names, but make them vertically aligned and horizontally aligned. And you could change this if you want. Like I like my dates to the right and my names to the left. So maybe with our names, we'll align them left. And I'm doing that shift down arrow thing that I said before. So Control Shift down arrow, which might be Command Shift down arrow on a Mac, Command Shift down arrow, and left align, and then just Command up arrow or Control up arrow. And now we'll go here, and we'll do the same thing, left align, and we'll kind of go back up. And with the dates, I actually kind of liked them right aligned too. So we'll do the dates again, right align them, and we'll go up. And the dates again, right align them. Perfect. Okay. Now, I want to make these 3 cells, the ones that say jump height, 10M, sprint time, and deadlift on RM, make them this red color and make their font white. These are the colors that I'm choosing. Maybe you can guess the team, but maybe not, because it's actually an old school logo. Now, the next step is I'm going to adjust the sizes of the columns. The name column isn't big enough, and the rank column is too big. So we'll select column A. I'm holding down Control. It might be Command for you. Select column F and column K, and we'll right click and resize the columns to 50 to make them a little bit smaller. And then I'll select B, column B, hold down Control or Command, and G and L, and right click, resize, let's say 170. That's too big. I want it to all fit on my page at least. 160. Okay, great. Now, for the top 3 names, what I want to do, I'm going to highlight these 3 rows. I'm going to make these names bold, and I want to make their color that red, and I want to make it bigger. So I want to make it size 12, let's say. So the top 3 are always highlighted in some sort of way, and it could be the bottom 3, but in any case, it's the first 3 names that we see are highlighted. And yeah, I think that this is about it. Maybe we'll highlight each of these headers and put a border around them. Just a subtle border though, so maybe this gray color, and I'll make the thickness a little bit bigger. And I could actually just copy this and just paste and paste so everything's the same. And now the last finishing touch here, I just went and copied a logo from online, and now you'll know what team I'm talking about. I'll do Control V to paste it in here, and I'll make it smaller, much smaller, and we'll put that guy over in this corner here. And now that I think about it, maybe I'll make this row 25 just a little bit bigger. And let's make these all the top 15 so that it fills up the space. And there we go. Here's our dynamic leaderboard. So I hope that this tutorial was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. On my website, I'm going to have a tutorial where you can select metrics on the fly. So imagine that you had 10 metrics and you wanted to pick these 3 at any time and have them sort appropriately and all that stuff. You'd be able to do that. And also you might notice that this guy, let's say Will Chamberlain, he's on this list twice. Each happened on a different date. And this may be exactly what you want, but if you don't, I'm also going to set up a way to just get each person on the list once. So they can't appear on the list twice, because you might have an athlete that's really fast or really strong and they're just the top 10 entries on a list. So I'll go through that too. Again, if you want to access those tutorials, check out my website. And yeah, so again, thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.